Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another special Fright Night Friday Halloween Horror Blu-ray DVD update. So I guess this is actually the last of the update videos for Halloween season because much like last week, next week I've got an extra review planned, so there's just no more days left where I can slot an update in. Everything else is full. Oh well, I hope you've been enjoying the ride. It's been quite a crazy couple of months, to say the least. Not really a theme this time other than horror. So there's some new stuff, there's some old stuff, there's some obscure stuff, there's some well-known stuff, and some even more obscure stuff. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get right to it. More horror today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Okay, so first up, from the makers of the Conjuring universe saga of horror films, I just love how that's become a cinematic universe of horror films. That's great stuff. And they're really good, too, at least the ones I've seen. We have The Curse of La Llorona, who I've not seen this one yet, and I'm a little bit fuzzy on whether or not it's actually part of the Conjuring universe or not, or peripherally related, or not related at all, other than it's by some of the same producers. But yeah, anyway, looking forward to checking this one out. My introduction to this legend was a few years ago when I was just cruising around YouTube and I was looking at walkthroughs of haunts, like haunt attractions. And one of them was a themed haunt based on the story of La Llorona. And it just sounded really scary and interesting to me. I'm always interested in folklore and legends and horror stories and ghost stories from different cultures. And this was one that I'd never heard of before. So it was really interesting watching the haunt video. They had one of it, in full active mode with people walking through. But then the one that was really interesting to me and where I learned a lot about the original legend was there was a behind-the-scenes walkthrough where it was during the day, they had all the lights on, they were showing how the animatronics worked and where they would plant the actors to jump out at the patrons and stuff like that. And it was really interesting. And anyway, so when I heard that they were making a movie based on that same legend, I was, pretty keen to check it out. So definitely looking forward to this one. There's a few movies in the Conjuring universe I still have to catch up on. So that's one of my goals for this Halloween, is I'm hoping to finally sit down and watch the ones that I haven't got around to yet. And yeah. So you're probably thinking, hey, I bet the next one he pulls out is going to be Annabelle Comes Home, because that's the latest one in the Conjuring universe. Well, I would, except at the time this is being recorded, the Blu-ray hasn't come out yet. So you'll definitely see that in an upcoming update, because I definitely plan to get that. But at the time that I'm filming this, it hasn't come out yet. So I can't show you what doesn't exist yet. I'm speaking to you from the past. Anyway, next up, this is a pretty special one for me because I used to have this film on VHS. You may remember, if you watched my videos about the Hemisphere Box of Horror and the Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism, how I used to have the VHS tape of it called Castle of the Walking Dead. Well, from the same publisher, Interglobal, I had this movie. And I've been wanting to get this movie back in the collection for a long time because it was one that always really resonated with me in some way, because it was just, it was a very effective, very shocking kind of murder mystery movie. And now, having seen a lot of Italian horror, like giallo films and whatnot, I've been wanting to see this again even more. Because when I was thinking back to this movie, I was thinking, it felt very much like a giallo, but I don't think it was an Italian film. And no, it wasn't. It was an American film, but because of the structure of it, it's often looked at as an American giallo, one of the few kind of examples of that. I'm, of course, speaking of Alice, Sweet Alice. Now, this is the absolutely gorgeous special edition that recently came out from Arrow Video. This is really, really nice. I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it yet, but I just had to get this. I actually pre-ordered this when it was announced. Just give you a quick look here. As you can see, there's the original theatrical poster art underneath, and we have new art on the slipcover, and it's absolutely loaded with extras. So this is a very nice collector's edition, and you know, quite an upgrade from the old bargain bin VHS tape that I had back in the day. This was back in the Selkirk days, and I showed this to some of my friends on VHS, and they were quite taken with it as well. They thought it was very well done. It's very scary. There's like a mystery to it, and you know, some of the murder scenes are quite disturbing, as they should be. So it really does have a giallo flavor to it. In fact, apparently Arrow Video thinks so as well, because they even colored the background yellow as if it was kind of a almost subconscious nod to that. So yeah, Alice, Sweet Alice, definitely worth checking out. If you're a Brooke Shields fan, this is actually one of her earliest films. I think she's about 12 in this. She plays the younger sister of the main character, Alice. So, very good movie, and highly recommended. I'll probably review that one of these days. Next up, from Kino Lorber's Redemption Films label, we have Peter Cushing in The Blood Beast Terror. Now, this is essentially where he plays an investigator who's looking into a series of mysterious murders that may have been caused by a vampire. So, not too far a stretch from his Hammer horror days. When did this come out? This was 1968, and it's from Tygon Films. So, I thought it made a nice little tie-in to all my Hammer acquisitions this year. Kind of the same era, featuring Peter Cushing, and how can you go wrong? So, yeah, so this looks pretty good. I've been actually eyeballing the Redemption Films label for a while. They have a lot of movies that I'm curious about. They tend to focus mostly on exploitation horror from the 60s and 70s. There's a lot of stuff by Jess Franco in their library, a lot of stuff by Gene Rollins in their library, which are all kind of erotic exploitation horror movies. A lot of, you know, lesbian vampire movies and things like that. But there's quite a few that have kind of caught my eye, so probably going to pick up some more of these titles when funds permit, because looks like some pretty good stuff. And I do like Jess Franco. As you know, I really enjoyed his take on Count Dracula, which I reviewed a couple of Halloweens ago, I guess, and really good. So another Kino Lorber acquisition, picked up Black Sabbath, starring Boris Karloff. This is one that I wanted to get for my anthology horror collection. This is actually by Mario Bava, speaking of giallo, famous giallo director. This one is not really a giallo, it's basically just a straight-up anthology horror film, but apparently it was one of Bava's personal favorites out of the movies he did. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to checking this out. Now, I should mention, I did not know this when I bought it, but I noticed that Kino Lorber has 2 editions. You can tell the difference by the covers. The covers are different. So this particular edition is the AIP English language version of the film. The other release, which was an older release from 2013, is the original Italian language version. So I'm pretty sure this is spaghetti horror, much like what Argento and Bava and Fulci do. So the Italian actors would be speaking Italian, the English actors would be speaking English, and then they would dub one or the other for whichever market they were sending the film to. So this is the English version. So, I mean, honestly, this is how I would be accustomed to seeing most Italian spaghetti horror anyway, with the Italian actors dubbed in English and then the English actors just speaking in English. So for me personally, I didn't know that was the difference between them. I just thought, oh, this looks like the newer edition and I like the cover better, so I'll get this one. But No, apparently there is 2 editions. I don't know why they weren't able to include both on one edition. Maybe it's some kind of rights issue. Who knows? But anyway, if you're wondering why there's 2 editions and what the difference is, that's the difference. In terms of contents, I don't know that there's any difference there. In terms of the cuts themselves, I think they're exactly the same. So this one just has some audio commentary and a trailer on it. I'm pretty sure it's the same on the other edition. But anyway, buyer beware. I'll include in with the Amazon links. I'll include links to both versions just in case you're a completist and you want to have both. Last but most certainly not least, got another edition for the Shot on Video collection. This is DVD because, well, it was standard def video. There's no point in putting it on Blu-ray other than maybe a bit of a boost in bitrate. We have from Intervision Home Video, Dark Harvest. Now, this is actually a double bill. So we also have Escapes, starring Vincent Price. And that was actually the main reason I got this one. But Dark Harvest essentially is a killer scarecrow horror movie. And apparently not a very good one. So I look forward to checking out the awfulness. But the main reason I got this was for Escapes. Because Escapes is a shot-on-video anthology horror film starring the master of horror himself, Vincent Price. Now, this was apparently the last anthology horror film he did. He did do more movies, but so this is from 1986 and was, of course, quite late in Vincent's career, but always great to see him in, well, anything. And then Dark Harvest is from 1990, so yeah, gotta love some shot-on-video stuff. It's definitely a genre I've always been interested in, and, I'll be exploring it more fully in the months and years to come, I'm sure. So, there you go. That is it for this update, and that is it for the Halloween updates, actually. Quite a lot of cool additions to the horror collection this year, I have to say. Definitely going to enjoy diving into them. Alrighty, well, that is it from me to you for now. So as always, if you'd like to add any of these to your collection, I will include Amazon links in the description below. And as I mentioned, I'll be sure to include both versions of Black Sabbath for you in case you want to have both of them. I'm probably not going to double dip myself. I'm probably just going to stick with the English version. But, I know there are those who like to have everything. So if you're one of those, then I got you covered. There you go. And thanks, as always, for using my Amazon links, everybody. Really appreciate the support. You're very directly supporting the show, and I really appreciate that. Alrighty, so thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. Be sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream almost every day, and I'll see you next time. Until then, sayonara. This is how I would be accustomed to seeing most Italian spaghetti horror anyway, with the Italian actors dubbed in Italian. That makes sense. This is from 1986, and it was quite late in Vincent's career, obviously. I think the only other major movie he did after that was